Hello and welcome to Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about Lana's quote-unquote first record, Born to Die, and it ended up being our top viewed video so far. A lot of great comments and people saying, wait, before you move on to Ultraviolence, it is crucial that you check out the EP, mini album, whatever you want to call it, called Paradise.
Yeah, I didn't really know what this was. There's like two different Born to Dies, and then like two different Born to Die Paradise, and then just Paradise.
It's a little messy on Spotify. I wish they would clean that up a bit and maybe just have like a Born to Die with Paradise and Paradise. Because looking at it as it is, just these 8 songs, it's really a clever way that Lana sort of skirted that pressure of like a sophomore slump.
Yeah, with an album as big as Born to Die, that's always the issue of like, first it might take years for a second album to come out, or if something does come out, like the hyperfixation on if it's good.
Yeah, that's so much pressure. It's so much pressure for yourself and pressure for this whole machine to keep going. So to do this sort of like extended release, we'll tack it onto the end of Born to Die kind of thing. And it's in the same vein, but there's some new ideas going on.
Yeah.
I thought it was really smart. I love when bands do that, kind of bridge the gap into your next proper release.
And it also stands alone as its own release as well. It feels like a full concept on its own.
I think so. Yeah, I really thought this was just as cohesive of a body of songs as Born to Die. And before we get into it, just want to say huge thanks to everyone who checked out that video. It's cool that it's our top video now. Glad you're here, and we're happy to check out more. I was really into Paradise.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it because we haven't discussed it with each other at all yet.
Heard it for the first time today, and I got notes. Let's get into Ride. So this was my least favorite, but I will say this, just like, remember that second track on Born to Die, suddenly you got these different vocals, and it was like, oh, it's not just all going to be sung like this. Yeah. You get that same effect here.
Yeah, I have to say, not my choice for an opener. It's good. It's a good song, and it really sets, I think, the theme of this release very well. It's called Ride. The idea of driving and America and all this stuff is throughout this entire album. It kind of feels mostly like something you would play when you're driving like through the desert or something. I
could see that. Yeah. And you'll even hear the phrase like just ride or variations of that come back in different songs.
Yeah, it comes back a lot.
Which I think in a smaller mini album, whatever you want to call this, is a really cool thing to do. Just kind of like loop it,
bring it back. Yeah.
Have them all be cohesive together instead of like the traditional arc of an album. It feels better like this.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty clever. So definitely, I think that's why this was the first one. Is it's like the intro, sort of the theme.
I do like that chorus. I like when she suddenly goes like, "What is that like a?" It's at least a full octave above the verses.
Yeah, I can't remember 100%, but yeah.
It's a lot higher.
She does that a lot. And I did note here something I think about with this album and with Born to Die, and I'm excited to explore it in the other releases, is that she's, I wrote, a generous and creative vocalist because of the variety that we get. And we talked about that in the other video, but it's still very present here.
Yeah, and it always catches you off guard in the best way possible. You don't want the listener to get bored, and like right as they might be, you like throw this different personality at them.
Yeah, she does that a lot.
Getting into American, the melodrama is back. It's still there. It's part of the brand. Loving it. And then you get these like minimal drums that I really like. And that's something that was on Born to Die, and I was hoping would carry over. And because with video games being such a huge hit and stuff, I was worried that it was just going to be more like that without the electronics or the percussion. So to hear it back was welcome.
Yeah, I mean, I think it won't be totally a track by track, but we both have like notes on most of the songs.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of songs. This is where I started to think, like, is this a road album? Not a road trip album. That's different. Like just a cruising, like going out, like everything's kind of overwhelming and you just like get out and like drive around and think about stuff.
I like that.
Yeah.
It's a good way to think about it.
I also said it was soothing and hypnotic. And it has a lot of cultural touch points, which is another theme of this album.
Yeah.
You know, the driving and the like classic America. You could say she kind of overdoes it almost. She just like uses American iconography so much.
Yeah. Coca-Cola, cherry pie. I'm pretty sure baseball comes up.
Yeah, in this one she has Springsteen, Los Angeles, and Elvis all like name dropped, and Elvis comes back in another song later on. There's a lot and this is just the second song, and it keeps happening throughout the entire album.
Which really, my thought on this record too was, it's like she's solidifying her sound and her brand, at least for this sort of era.
Yeah.
And it's like an expansion on Born to Die, but it's also saying like, this is the Lana Del Rey sound and brand.
Yeah, I mean, calling the first song Ride and calling this song American is like, it's so in your face to the point where you could be like, is it just obvious? But there's something behind it. It's not for everybody. Not everyone's going to connect to that. But I see what they're doing with the marketing here.
And the percussion, I think, takes a step up. Mm-hmm. It's very lush. There's a lot going on, and particularly take the chorus of American with headphones. You can pick out 5 or 6 interesting things going on.
Yeah.
That's not even the vocal.
Yeah, I find Lana is an artist that improves. She's great in general, but like she's one of those artists that I never actually got until I started listening in headphones.
Yeah. You really should. There's a lot going on. It's sort of like washes over you.
Yeah, and there's, like you said, there's just little things that you're picking out. You're going like, oh, this is happening, and this is happening, and her voice is doing this, and here's this like little vocal thing in the background, and there's a distortion, and this and that.
We should get into Cola.
Yeah, Cola. Yeah.
There's a lot to say.
Yeah, Cola is maybe my favorite Lana song.
That's what I was going to say.
Really?
I was going to say it's my favorite Lana song that I've heard so far. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you kind of got it all. You have this like amazing vulgar opening line that like really grabs you and says like, hey, this song's going to be, something, it's going to have a bite.
She does that a lot. It's this contrast between like the sweet, classic American things and then, the vulgarness. She swears, she talks about, she just talks about things that you wouldn't expect this pretty little singer to talk about.
Yeah, we talked about that sort of eerie psychosexual element on Born to Die.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's still here. It adds to that like almost uncanniness that you get by looking at like the record cover. She's like staring at you. It adds to the whole experience. This distorted backing vocal when she says, I come alive.
Oh, it's so good.
That's the first time that her voice has been like full on distorted.
Yeah.
And
it's
it was
so
really
effective.
cool.
It's so effective. And it's used so minimally too, which makes it even more effective.
Yeah. That's the only time it's distorted on this record, I think.
But even within the song, it only comes in a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really liked it. And then you get these awesome string plucks in the chorus, which are like reminiscent of like Orinoco Flow by Enya, or maybe to come even later, Therefore I Am, Billie Eilish, and in the verses, it leads to those plucks. This was really cool, and it's cool to have, there's not a lot of high end in her music, and so those really stick out and are effective.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Just bringing back in the themes of it, the lyrics here, I fall asleep in an American flag. I pledge allegiance to my dad.
Yeah.
which is, that patriarchal, traditional, like I'm so American that like my dad is my hero.
Right. Yeah.
And then she rhymes ices with nices, which is amazing for some reason. Shouldn't be good. Should not be good. And then those high oohs.
Really cool. Really cool. That was
Great.
like, I know your wife and she wouldn't mind. It has this like we said, like this psychosexual sort of ominous feeling. And then, to have it lead into these like this high wail of O's was super unexpected. Favorite song on here and favorite song I've heard from Lana so far.
Right.
I'm hoping that, with a name like Ultraviolence, talk about ominous. I'm really hoping this is what we hear from it.
Yeah.
So let us know. Are we in for?
Are we on the wrong track or the right track?
Are we in for disappointment? I don't have much on the back half. I think Body Electric. It starts like this Bond song, and you got this like dark cinematic chorus, which cinematic's a word we said in Born to Die. So she's carrying over all the right themes.
She's carrying over the themes, but she's not. It's not derivative. It's not the same old thing. I think Ride is the only Ride and like Bel Air were the two that felt a little bit like superfluous and a little bit too much, the same. Body Electric, I did want to mention again, there's lots of references. You got Marilyn Monroe, Grand Ole Opry, and Walt Whitman wrote the I Sing the Body Electric, which is a very famous. You can't really get more like mainstay of American poetry canon, in a way that like only white men were really recognized until recently. Walt Whitman is it. He's like it, the American poet. And then also she throws in a Drop It Like It's Hot.
Yeah. Bringing in cultural references from different times where like it overall has that like old school Americana feel, but you bring in this like almost creepy David Lynch vibe and like current culture references.
Yeah. It's like the timeless versus the like this puts it in a certain era.
And then there's always just a hint, a small little dash of like LA, like current LA vibe.
Yeah.
Like a LA nightclub vibe.
Yeah.
And she works, it sounds like it shouldn't go together. It sounds like it would be oil and water, but it just mixes. Do you hear that leaf blower? We live in New Jersey right now, and just leaf blowing is like the pastime here. Speaking of David Lynch, Blue Velvet.
Yeah, that's gotta be a reference to the film.
So this song, not only, I'm thinking, okay, Blue Velvet, David Lynch, like creepy. This also sounds like it would be playing in the Gold Room in The Shining.
Bluer than velvet was the night.
Yeah, I said that too. It's like it's almost like it's from a musical or like a jazz lounge or something.
Yeah, which I also got from Bel Air. I wrote, it sounds like a song that was written for a Disney movie that got rejected because it was too dark.
Right. Yes, I agree.
And I love that vibe. And we end there. I want to throw out some recommendations. If you like this sort of thing, but particularly the back half, like Bel Air, Blue Velvet, I want to recommend Elliott Smith and particularly his cover of the Beatles song Because. If you like that, move on to something like Figure 8 or XO. A lot of good stuff that feels like this.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have, a couple more notes. I think Gods and Monsters, again, with the basically what's the core values of America, LA, what is going on in this album as a theme. It has the lyric Fame, Love, Liquor in it.
Yeah.
So that's like it. That's what most people are in pursuit of: fame, love, and liquor just being like fun and partying, It's interesting because like, okay, take that idea. Yes, it's a derivative thing to write about. Totally.
But she's doing it in a whole new way with a new sound that I think derivative is the last thing I would describe it as.
Yeah, and so it's funny because she just like the lyrics go back and forth. It's like trite and insightful, and like it all seems on purpose to me. And then Yayo, I also wanted to say the lyric "Let me put on a show for you" is again falling into this category of the theme. I'm saying theme too much, but I don't really know how else to describe it. But just the way also we've been talking about, like in this song in particular, the way she balances delicate and sinister in her vocal delivery.
Yeah, she gets a little weird with the vocals on that one, and I really love it. You know, it's a wild vocal delivery in parts where, you know, maybe if you're not working with the right producer, they might be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, let's take that again, you know, more straight down the middle. But, you know, whoever she's working with, I didn't look into it, is on this ride with her clearly.
And I mentioned Fiona Apple with Born to Die, but like literally Fiona Apple does that little thing she's doing, that ascending like sort of stuttery thing. I can't remember which song she does it on a song in Fetch the Bolt Cutters.
Okay.
And I get Fiona Apple. I get a little Rilo Kiley sometimes.
Yeah.
And so, you know, check those out. Again, I just recommend When the Pawn as an entry point to Fiona Apple. And they're kind of like they are really, I think, similar in the way that they approach their careers early on.
Okay.
And I can see a lot of like similarities. The only difference was with Fiona Apple, she got pigeonholed because a director put her in her underwear looking like a drug addict in this
Criminal.
like dingy music video for Criminal. And so she got pegged as this sort of like bad girl, like outsider, and only outsider kids liked her, you know? And Lana is like, it's there's so much crossover in their style and the way that they sing and their creativity. So again, great comparison, I think.
I'm going to throw out one more recommendation before we wrap up. And it's something that just came to mind. I didn't even have it written down. I had to look it up to make sure I had the album right. One of my top, I'd say my number 2 record of 2017. Number 1 was American Dream by LCD Sound System. Number 2 was by Era, that's EERA, and her record Reflection of Youth.
Great
Amazing.
record,
And please check it out if you like this Lana Del Rey sound. I'd particularly recommend the first 2 tracks, Living and Beast.
Yeah. It's one of those albums I like forget about, and then I see it like on my album list and I'm like, oh yeah, I got to listen to that right now.
Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. I don't know how rapidly we'll be rolling out the Lana videos, but we'll definitely keep going through them all. I'm excited to hear their new record because I did hear A&W and liked it a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, we cover a lot of artists on this channel, but stick around. Ultraviolence will be coming shortly. Thanks for watching. This is Not Every Single. I'm Joe.
And I'm Stephanie.
We'll see you then.